Welcome to this week's Forum Trade Talk, brought to you by Fantasy Baseball Cafe. I'm Jason Gilbo. I'll be heading to our forums to highlight 5 trades that I found interesting for this week. Just break them down and talk about them a little bit. First one here, some star-studded names here. Adam Jones and Jake Arrieta for Jose Abreu and Danny Salazar. To highlight going right to Adam Jones and Jose Abreu, I value them pretty equally. Maybe Jose Abreu just a little bit more. I know what I'm going to get from both of those guys. An average around 290. Hitting around 30 homers, 90 to 100 RBIs. Although Jones may fall a little bit short of those numbers this year in the RBI column. But solid worth from both guys, and it's kind of tough to find those numbers throughout the year in the outfield, maybe a little more than first base. You can kind of ride the hot streaks there. So I kind of feel like first base is a little deeper, even still having a ton of outfield plays. Still scarce sometimes. We've seen guys like Carlos Gonzalez, Michael Brantley kind of falter a little bit this year, so not always a deep position. But overall, it's going to come down to your team's needs and strengths, and the structure of the team having a depth at first base or outfield. I personally can't go wrong with either of those guys. I would definitely want both of them on my team, but I'll give the slight upside to Abreu, but Jones is not that far behind. Taking a look at the pitching, I find Jake Arrieta to be a much safer play, while Danny Salazar tends to be somewhat inconsistent from time to time. Still a young guy. But he has a ton of strikeout upside, which is nice. But it's not a dramatic difference if he hits that upside compared to what Jake Arrieta puts up. Salazar has an ERA that tends to fluctuate from time to time. I'll give Arrieta the slight nod there. Like I said, I like to play it safe. Adam Jones and Jake Arrieta just seems slightly more safer. Not that Abreu's a risky play, but Danny Salazar can tend to be, although he's really turned around this season. Going forward, I'd rather have Jones and Arrieta, but I can't fault anyone for taking that deal. Trade number 2, Josh Donaldson and Ben Zobrist for Troy Tulowitzki and Chris Davis. This one I'm a little more leaning towards Donaldson and Zobrist pretty heavily. With Zobrist, it has a little more stability. Also, I like that he plays a couple positions. That kind of factors into his fantasy value. Donaldson's obviously crushing with Toronto. We expected the huge spike of power going from Oakland to Toronto, but that's been huge this season. While Tulo, only 8 homers this season, a little bit down year, still hitting 320, heating up here as the summer goes on. I still want Donaldson. Even with Tulo being the top option as shortstop and you getting a dramatic, advantage over other shortstops having him, still a little tough for me to give up Donaldson. Like I said, just 8 homers from Tulo, nice 320 average though, but Donaldson 19 homers, 302, and I find Zobrist a little more stable over Chris Davis. Chris Davis, sexy power numbers, but hitting 238, 100 strikeouts already. He's a hit or miss player from month to month. He had a pretty solid June, but May and April was hit and miss. And I believe Zobrist is going to be on his way out of Oakland, which may give him a little fantasy boost if he goes somewhere, with a nice hitting environment, sits in a nice team lineup that drives in runs. So he could be a guy to actually target going on forward. This one's pretty fresh. This one just came in today. Lorenzo Cain for Masahiro Tanaka. This one's pretty simple for me. I want Lorenzo Cain 10 times out of 10 while Tanaka's not healthy. If he was, it'd be a different story, and you'd probably be looking to give up more than Lorenzo Cain. So I believe Tanaka's a ticking time bomb injury-wise. He's going to need surgery at some point, and while he's pitching, decent, he looked, not too good last start. He's up and down. While Lorenzo Cain's, pushing 14 stolen bases. He has 70 combined runs and RBI, 6 homers, hitting 300. Those are tough tough numbers to replace in the outfield right now, especially with the stolen bases. So I'm leaning definitely heavy towards Lorenzo Cain. Trade number 4. This one's another straight up JD Martinez for Jon Lester. While I like Jon Lester as a nice buy low target, I feel Martinez may be a little high for him. The team shipping off Martinez needs pitching pretty badly. While Lester, I think, is going to bounce back and have a nice second half. I still don't think he's going to have the numbers that he posted last season. And if you look at his career numbers beforehand, he's posted what he's usually posted, which is not a top 10 fantasy pitcher, but still a guy who has value. While giving up JD Martinez, hitting 281 with 21 homers, 51 RBIs, that's a lot to give up to Lester. I would have aimed a little higher. Another lefty I would have liked to see maybe go after is Dallas Keuchel, who I feel is a much more safer pick and a higher fantasy value. And maybe throw some guys that are, maybe just on the outside of top 10 fantasy pitchers. So with the urgency to move for a fantasy pitcher, I can see doing it, but I would have liked a little more for Lester there. Trade number 5, our last trade here, another 1-for-1 swap. Being in a keeper league, this has a big difference than a redraft. Carlos Gomez straight up for Brett Gardner. Because it's a keeper league, I'm saying no, and a big no. If it was a redraft, I for sure would have hit the yes button there, because Gardner's on pace for a 2020 season, hitting 290. Carlos Gomez had the injury bug this season, been in and out of the lineup with those nagging injuries. It's been tough for people who drafted him highly and kept him this year. I can understand trading him away. Only 29 years old. He has plenty of time left for those keeper leagues. He's going to be a keeper next year for me. Only hitting 270 with 5 homers and 7 stolen bases. But this is a guy who's been in the past who's hit 25 homers and stolen 30 plus bases. Tacked on 40 stolen bases the other year with 20 homers. In a keeper league going into next season, I'm definitely going to want Carlos Gomez over Brett Gardner easily. He's just simply the better fantasy player when healthy and at its best. And I don't believe that this is him trending downward. I just believe it's him not healthy. The lineup around him hasn't been good. He's been up and down in the lineup, injury. It's just no rhythm for him this season. So it's been tough for him to get anything going. But yeah, overall, I definitely hang on to Carlos Gomez in that one. So that's going to take us up. That'll wrap up our 5 trades for this week. Brought to you by Fantasy Baseball Cafe. Keep posting on the forum. We're wrapping up here at the All-Star break. So keep posting and we'll get back to you.